Wall Street loves guns and hunting, and has for a very long time, and nobody talks about that. Certainly not CNBC or Fox Business. Why is that? Well, do you think it was a coincidence that Oliver Stone made it a point to show Gordon Gekko's highly enviable gun collection to Larry Wildman in the movie Wall Street? Wall Street and guns have been a thing for a long time. So this is about Wall Street's not so secret anymore weekend hobby, or at least at the MD, PM, and MP level. So there's a strange thing that happens every Friday afternoon. The Bloomberg terminals stay on. The markets never really leave their minds. The macro risks are still there. The debt still exists, and the deficits keep growing. The geopolitical tensions don't magically disappear, but something changes. The managing director in Manhattan leaves the city. The hedge fund manager, the founder, heads for the airport. The private equity partner loads gear into the back of a pickup truck, and by Saturday morning, some of the people who spend their lives analyzing the future of the global economy are standing in a field at sunrise carrying rifles, and oftentimes together by design. Not spreadsheets, not PowerPoints, not valuation models, rifles. And that raises an interesting question. Why? Because if you've spent enough time around Wall Street, you discover something surprising. The stereotype is wrong. Many of the people running billions of dollars are not spending every weekend on yachts in Saint-Tropez, though some are. But many are doing something much less glamorous. Hunting, shooting, training, spending time outdoors. And the deeper you look, the stranger it gets. Walk through enough executive homes, family offices, hedge funds, private equity firms, and trading desks, and talk to the people in those roles, and you'll eventually encounter the same names that repeatedly come up. It starts with range talk, consensus, the Glock 17, the Glock 19, simple, reliable, durable. The Toyota Camry of handguns, not flashy, not exotic, and not designed to impress anybody, but designed to work, and reliably so. That's important because successful investors often think differently than consumers. Now get this. Consumers by status, investors by utility. One wants admiration, the other wants reliability. And nowhere is that mindset more visible than in firearm culture, at least among Wall Street. The same person who can afford a $20,000 custom handgun is often the same guy carrying the Glock 19. Because the goal is not showing off. The goal is confidence that it works when needed. The same mentality appears in hunting. Talk to enough executives and portfolio managers, and you'll hear stories about deer camps, elk hunts, waterfowl season, and western expeditions, whitetail deer, elk, mule deer, wild turkey, waterfowl. The preferred rifles are usually just as practical. Bolt-action rifles from companies like Remington, Ruger, Savage Arms, or Browning. Again, not necessarily the most expensive, just dependable. And the pattern repeats: utility over appearance, function over status, performance over fashion. And that same pattern appears in the backgrounds of many of these Wall Street professionals. Contrary to popular belief, not everyone came from privilege. And yes, some did, maybe many. But there are plenty of people whose parents were executives, lawyers, doctors, or financiers, to be sure. But there are also plenty who are first-generation immigrant families, children of shop owners, children of factory workers, children of military families, children raised in strict religious households, people who grew up poor, people who grew up with very little. Different backgrounds, different cultures, and different life experiences. But we often share one characteristic: discipline, the ability to delay gratification, and the willingness to make decisions based on probabilities rather than emotions. The capacity to think clearly when everyone else is panicking. Those traits matter whether you're building a discounted cash flow model, managing risk, hunting and freezing temperatures, or spending 8 hours at a shooting range trying to improve by a fraction of a percent. The activity itself may be different, and the mindset often is not. Which brings us to the macro question. And what does it mean? Should we interpret Wall Street's fascination with firearms, hunting, and self-reliance as a signal? Do we know something the rest do not? Are we preparing for some coming crisis? Some economic collapse? Some geopolitical shock? Maybe. Or maybe that's the wrong question entirely. Because the smartest investors rarely make decisions based on certainty. We make decisions based on probabilities. We do not buy insurance because we know disaster is coming. We buy insurance because disaster is possible, and we've calculated the math. We do not diversify because we expect failure. We diversify because uncertainty exists. Maybe hunting, shooting, and preparedness represent the same philosophy. Not prediction, preparation. Not fear, optionality. Not paranoia, risk management. And suddenly, this stops being a story about guns. It becomes a story about how successful people think. The people who survive difficult environments, whether financial markets, businesses, military operations, or wilderness expeditions, often we all develop the same habit. We assume uncertainty is permanent. We prepare accordingly. We do not expect the best. We do not expect the worst. We do expect the unexpected and prepare accordingly. And perhaps the most interesting observation of all, the people managing enormous sums of capital spend their weekdays analyzing risk and their weekends practicing self-reliance. Maybe those two activities are more connected than they first appear. Maybe the real question is not why Wall Street hunts. Maybe the real question is whether we understand something timeless about human nature, that the future is unknowable, that resilience matters, and that when uncertainty rises, the most valuable asset is not money, it is competence, the ability to remain calm, to think clearly, to adapt, to survive. And in a world that feels increasingly unstable, that may be the one investment strategy that never goes out of style. And now you know the rest of the story for why Wall Street loves guns and hunting. Build that stack. iBankerU. Good day.